What is up, guys? NYKF31 here, bringing you some All-Pro Football 2K8. I'm going to be showing you two games of All-Pro Football 2K8 as I'm taking two teams through the season mode, something I've never completed. I'm taking my 2012 Notre Dame Fighting Irish and also the 2001 Greatest Show on Turf Rams. They should have gotten that second Super Bowl, the Lovie Smith defensive coordinated 2001 Rams, which is why I am doing them and not the 99 Rams. So, anyhow, if you guys out there in the YouTube Sim community have not had a chance to listen to the Sim Standard radio show, it's hosted by Sim F-Ball critic Kamish Azor and Smitty. What they do is that every week, every Thursday night, they talk about various aspects of not just football gaming, but sports video gaming as a whole. Now, being football fans, first and foremost, they focus more on Madden. But one of the things and one of the topics that comes up during the year is the whole concept between ratings, attributes, and player differentiation. It's always a good listen. It's always a good conversation. The callers do a good job. If you guys haven't had a chance to tune into that show, I would strongly recommend you doing so. I think you guys would enjoy it. So there's a little bit of a gratuitous plug to the Sim Standard radio show. You can Google it. It's easy to find. And again, I think you guys would enjoy it if you haven't experienced it yet. But going back to the whole topic of ratings, attribute, and player differentiation and all that, I'm starting to come along to their side of thinking. Like as you see here, my 2012 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, I have my golds being the Tyler Eifert and Manti Te'o. You saw the silvers and the bronze and the attributes I gave to everybody, and I'm very judicious about what attributes I give players. You can really create a overpowered player really quickly depending on the attribute or combo of attributes you give them. Like for example, Route God, I would never give to a bronze receiver. Those are strictly for golds and grudgingly silvers. There's maybe what, four Route Gods in the entire game. You have Shannon Sharp, Jerry Rice, Raymond Berry. That's three. Todd Christensen. That's four. And there's two silver receivers, I think. Don Maynard and who's the other one? Dante Lavelli. That's six. That's six receivers in the entire game that have Route God. So you're looking at a pretty exclusive club. So I would only give Route God to a guy who I feel would fit that profile. Dan Marino, he's the only quarterback in the game that has quick release. When I was creating the Rams, I really sat there and debated whether I should give Kurt Warner quick release or not. You have quick release quarterbacks and you have Dan Marino. Again, Dan Marino is a standard by which we all go by as far as, well, what I do when I'm creating a quarterback. Just because a quarterback has a fast release doesn't mean that he necessarily deserves the quick release attribute. Because the quick release attribute, it really impacts your ability to get the ball off late. You can hold the ball for an extra couple of seconds to let those deep routes really develop and still be able to deliver the ball on time. And in creating the Rams playbook and remembering all of the deep concepts and double move concepts that they ran, I felt like he deserved it. Sackmaster. Sackmaster is another attribute that you don't see a lot. If I remember right, the only ones that have Sackmaster in the game are Reggie White, Deacon Jones, Derek Thomas, and Harvey Martin, I believe. So only four guys. I may be missing one, but at most only five guys in the entire game have Sackmaster. Now the difference between Sackmaster and Pass Rush Bonus is that Pass Rush Bonus, you'll see pass rushers get that good deep speed edge rush animation where they attempt to rip under with their inside arm and run the hoop and bend the pocket. Sackmasters, in my observation with the time I've played the game, and I've had the game since release date, I've played it on two consoles, Sackmasters really close really fast. They get in at times as fast as a blitz. That's the main difference. So when creating a team, I take all that kind of stuff into account. I'm really super anal about the attributes that I give and what I use. Now, all these games, they have numerical ratings for their players. Sports games have been like that forever. Whether they're visible or not, they're always there. And they'll always will be there. I didn't play Madden '08 all that much. From what I recall of the weapons, if a player cracked a certain number as far as a numerical rating goes, you'd see an icon which would identify them as a weapon, a acrobatic catch receiver or a good route runner, a press coverage corner, whatever it may be. And this particular catch receiver, he would go for those tough, aggressive catches in traffic, like Anthony Carter did here, actually. Madden '08 had a similar animation a lot more often than guys who had not earned that weapons trait. You see my Stephon Tuitt there get in for a sack. I gave him pass rush bonus, and I gave him bull rush. I probably should have given him club or rip instead, because even though he's a power rusher, the charge bull rush animation is actually counterproductive in this game. You see, he actually did double spin moves. Well, he did two spin moves. And here he's going to come in again. You see how Prince Shembo and Stephon Tuitt get that bend? And I have Everett Golson here with the scrambler attribute. And that basically allows him to throw the ball on the run. As you see my TJ Jones make the catch over the middle, possession receiver trait. But ironically, what started to sway me towards the attributes camp, because I really hadn't thought of it as much of a big deal. Madden tends to be going in that direction anyway with the player traits. You have to go through some effort to find out what the player traits are, as far as their consistency, whether they have high motor, clutch, pass rush move traits, big hit traits, how aggressively they play the ball. All that stuff is there. It just is a little bit tough to access. While in this game, it's visual. You have the icon there that identifies the player for what he's best known for, and you're able to get more of a sense of how to use a certain individual player as opposed to scouring a menu for numerical ratings. Like for me and for the way I play Madden, I'm very meticulous on putting together a scheme, who I have on the field, and where I have them. And doing that takes a lot of sorting through. It takes going through a nice zone blitz that I created there, if I do say so myself. But it takes a lot of sorting through a lot of numbers, and a lot of the numbers that they have are not very useful. Like if I'm putting together a 4-3 Tampa 2 scheme and I'm putting my front seven together, I only need to know a handful of ratings. I don't need to know a lot of the other stuff that's there as filler, in my opinion. Like for my strong side backer, I need to know how strong he is, how well he can shed blocks, how well he can pursue, tackle. I like him to be physical, so I like to have a heavy hitter there. For my weak side linebacker, I want someone who's a little bit faster, who's more agile, better coverage guy. You know, all that stuff I can find, but I feel like it can be very cumbersome. It takes me a while to sort through a depth chart and tune the team just so to play the style of play that I want, whether it's 4-3, 3-4, run and shoot offense, West Coast offense, whatever it may be. So if Madden can streamline the ratings somewhat to be more position specific, that would go a long way towards helping people identify their playmakers and better sort through what players excel at certain things. I mean, football has become a game that's very specialized, and substitutions are dictated by personnel and situations more so than it has been 15, 20, 30 years ago. Teams have situational pass rushers, situational run pluggers, cover specialist linebackers, wide receivers are more specialized. A guy like Wes Welker or Julian Edelman will be rated with a very high overall, and as a result of that, he'll be lined up either as an X or a Z most of the time when those guys make their living in the slot. I'd much rather have a depth chart sorted by position specialty. My X receiver, my Z, my H and Y, etc. I want to be able to designate my strong side and weak side backers full time based on the skill sets that are needed to play those positions. I don't want right outside linebacker, left outside linebacker anymore. I'm done with that. Give me my weak side, give me my strong side, give me my 3 technique and my nose, give me my 7 technique and my 9. And of course, if you're playing a 3-4, the roles for your defensive linemen and your linebackers are going to be different. Generally speaking, I say generally because there are different ways to skin a cat in the 3-4, but generally speaking, you want your defensive linemen in the 3-4 to be two-gap players, anchors to shield your linebackers from getting manhandled by 300-pound guards. But you can also play a single-gap style 3-4, and that requires a different set of skills for your defensive linemen. And again, if you can sort out the ratings and the attributes that you don't really need for these positions, it'll help streamline things a lot better and be able to identify those types of players. Like my Lewis Nix here at nose tackle, he's the prototype 3-4 two-gap player. Strength bonus, run coverage. Doesn't give me much on the pass rush other than a bull rush on occasion, but he's an anchor. He makes things tough. He's not an easy guy to block. Now, what started this change of thinking, you might ask? Ironically enough, it came through playing Madden Ultimate Team. When you play Madden Ultimate Team and you run into these stacked rosters with 99 overalls at every position, or you start getting good players of your own, guys that are in the mid to high 90s, and you get a few 99 overalls of your own. The question then becomes, well, what makes one 99 overall guy different from the other? 99 overall Jerry Rice isn't the same as a 99 overall Chris Carter or 99 overall Michael Irvin. They have, or I have on my team, a 98 overall Kurt Warner. If I'm going up against a 99 overall Dan Marino, a 99 overall Randall Cunningham, or a 99 overall Steve Young, they're all great players, but what is the difference between their 99s and my 98? Or my 99 overall Barry Sanders, the difference between my 99 overall Barry Sanders and someone else's 99 overall Thurman Thomas or Walter Payton. I have a 99 overall Derek Thomas. What separates him from a 99 overall Deacon Jones? You guys get the idea. Now, I have no complaints as far as how the great players perform in MUT. None whatsoever. My Derek Thomas, he does his thing. He's a hellacious speed rusher. He's able to beat the legend Jonathan Ogdens and Walter Jones of the world. He's very fast, gets off blocks quick, has high pass rush move ratings. But Derek Thomas, he wasn't the guy that was known for his pass rush move set. He was known for being a speed rusher. He was an incredibly athletic player. As opposed to Deacon Jones, who was known for his head slap, Reggie White, who was known for having a freakish combination of speed, power. He had a great rip move and a club move. I've seen Reggie White do a rip move where he rips under an offensive tackle and basically hip tosses him. Just a scary blend of speed and power. Now, while in MUT, yes, Derek Thomas is by far one of the more athletic pass rushers in the game. He does the same pass rush moves as a Deacon Jones or a Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor was a flat-out bull rusher. If Lawrence Taylor couldn't run by you, he'd run through you, and he was relentless. But in the game, you'll see these guys attempt the same pass rush moves. So when you're dealing with an environment where every player is good, it comes down to those hair-splitting differences between, good players. Like same thing in APF. In APF, all the players are good. You have players in the bronze tier who have been multiple-time All-Pros, who've won league MVPs, who've won Super Bowl MVPs. They're all good players. But not all of them would necessarily fit what you want to do. I'll give you an example of what I mean. I was playing a friends list person in APF years ago, and I put, just for the heck of it, Reggie White in a 3-4 and a pass rush linebacker, I think it was Bryce Pop, at inside linebacker into 3-4. I just wanted to see how they would do. And the guy who I was playing, the guy on my friends list, he was one of the better players in the APF community at that time. A lot like me, knows a lot about football. So what did he do? He ran right at them. It was a bloody nightmare. He just ran right at them running powers. Reggie's out there fighting off two guys every play and getting himself gassed. And when it actually came time to actually rush the passer, he was too dang tired to do anything about it. Reggie White's not a two-gap player. It's not what he does. Another player who I really liked was LC Greenwood. LC Greenwood was a speed rusher. He had speed burner, pass rush, ball strip, and I can't remember what else. He didn't have a pass rush move though, and he was kind of undersized. But if you put him in a wide nine when you go to an under front, as opposed to having him take guys straight on, he was a problem. Quarterbacks. Let's talk about quarterbacks. In my heyday, I ran a Air Coryell style vertical offense, power running game, vertical passing game, 5-step drop, 7-step drop. My prototypical team would have been some sort of charge throw quarterback, preferably rocket arm, but a laser arm would do just fine. But as long as it wasn't Randall Cunningham. I hated Randall Cunningham. Cunningham had that long sidewinder type release, and I just hated using him. He couldn't throw well with people in his face. He lost composure easily. His accuracy could go haywire from time to time, but a lot of people loved him. A lot of people sweared by him. I didn't. And that was fine. He just wasn't my guy. He's Randall Cunningham, who's a good player. He is a good player in the game, just not for me. Now, it wasn't a perfect science by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of the attributes really didn't do a whole heck of a lot, but enough was there to at least give you something deeper than a number. And you do see signs of Madden blending that into their game again with the player traits and the consistency traits and all that good stuff. But why not go all the way? We've been dealing with numerical based ratings solely for gosh knows how long now, forever. Here's the 2001 Ram squad, very different type of team, and this was a really fun team to make and a fun team to play with. I had to keep myself in check as far as the attributes for the offensive players, or things could have gotten out of hand in a hurry. I could have easily given Torrey Holt route god as well as Isaac Bruce. Isaac Bruce was a tough one to boil down to two attributes, but Isaac Bruce was a guy who was known for his route running. He was known for being one of the better route runners in the league. He was a Marvin Harrison level route runner, so I felt like he deserved it. Torrey Holt was their deep threat, but he could have gotten route god as well with the crazy aggressive routes that they asked him to run. Aggressive post corners and corner posts and out and up slant and goes. He was their go-get-it guy. And I gave Oz Hakim, I could have gone speed burner. I was tempted to go speed burner, but then I Googled his 40 time. My personal rule with 40 times and speed burner is you got to be 4.4 or under. I couldn't find a time under 4.4 for him, so I gave him breakaway burst instead. Kurt and Marshall were difficult to boil down to 3 attributes. For some reason, my 5 attribute gold ability is gone. I don't know how to get it back. Here I realized I didn't give Grant Wistrom any attributes, so I had to go back and give him his pass rush. Otherwise, he'd be slightly better than a generic. But back to Kurt and Marshall. Those two are really tough to boil down to just 3 attributes. I could have gone so many ways with Kurt. I could have gone pocket presence, laser arm, and clutch, or pocket presence, leadership, clutch, pocket presence, laser arm, quick release, laser arm, leadership, clutch, leadership, laser arm. I could have gone so many ways. I think laser arm, quick release, and leadership is the most balanced. And Marshall Faulk, I could have given Marshall Faulk pretty much any offensive attribute combination. Like he could have gotten route god. He was basically an extra wide receiver. Could have given him Mr. Third Down, soft hands, possession, stop on dime, finesse, quick feet. I mean, just so cyclone. So many different ways I could have gone with Marshall Faulk. I figured I'd give him soft hands, possession, and finesse, which will give him a charge, spin, and a juke move. So I felt that was the closest I could get with 3 attributes. That would do a decent job of making him a real dangerous all-around back, running, receiving, yet not make him feel overpowered. So let's see how this group plays. Starting out on defense, I'm controlling one of my defensive ends. You see that little rip move, that charge rip move I did. And I'm going to try to do the same thing here again. No, that's a running play. A London Fletcher, I gave him wrap-up tackler. Here I tried to do a speed edge rush, see how he hooks that inside arm, and we call that running the hoop, trying to get that good bend for that speed edge rush. Madden actually added that animation to the game last year. And people like to knock Madden about taking things from the 2K game. Well, that was in the 2K game. That's fine. I don't really care where the idea came from as long as the idea is a good one. I mean, if it's in the game and was from a previous game that you liked, that should make you happy. And I've said this before, I don't really find too much of a difference gameplay-wise between the two. The biggest differences are in the control layout and your pre-snap options, as well as the game speed. The game speed, I find, is significantly slower, and it takes some time. That's really the biggest thing that takes time to get adjusted to, is a slower game speed. You know, my timing on the same concepts that I run in Madden aren't quite the same as in this game. I play the same exact way. I don't do anything overly different. I don't have to adjust my game any. You know, I was always like that even when playing online head-to-head. I mean, I can run 4-3 Tampa 2 against people in this game just as well as I can run it in Madden. Same thing with 3-4. 3-4, you know, has some video game quirks to it and flaws to it, like the outside linebacker to your left. He never shifts. It's basically a stand-up defensive end. If you do a linebacker shift, he won't shift with the other linebackers. He'll stay stationary. And in the 4-3, they have under and over front backwards. You'll be in an under front, will say that you're an over and vice versa. But you know, every game's going to have its video game quirks. The passing plays are similar, the running plays are similar. Defensively, there are combination coverage plays that are in this game that I wish were in the Madden game. Like there's a play called Cover 2 Bump, which has the outside corners and press man coverage, everyone else in Cover 2. They have a play where either an outside linebacker or a safety, depending on what formation you're in, is manned up on the tight end. Everyone else is in Cover 3. Combo coverages where the corner will play man-to-man coverage on anything that goes either vertical or outside, but will pass off the receiver if he goes inside and everyone else is in zone, either a quarters halves look or a cover 4 look. Plus you have delayed blitzes. What I don't like are the zone blitz plays. The zone blitzes in this game stink. I do a better job of creating my own than the ones that are in the game. The ones out of the 3-4 are especially wretched. But you can easily fix that with a couple of button presses because the pre-snap control layout is so much more user-friendly as far as making positional and individual hot routes than the Madden game. Like for example, if I wanted to create a fire zone blitz out of 3-4, I can, with a couple of button clicks, send 5 and have a defensive end dropping back, with the opposite linebacker still dropping back to the curl flat area on the opposite side. It takes maybe 5 seconds to do, as opposed to Madden where you have to pull up your audible, then you have to select the player that you want to hot adjust, then you have to make your adjustment, then go to the next guy that you wish to adjust. You can do global linebacker blitzes and global zones, but again, it's one command more than you have in the 2K game as far as being able to set things up. And, you know, how do people like to play online? They like to go psycho no huddle at every chance that they get. The no huddle speed is just on steroids, and you don't really have that much time to do any more than one, maybe 2 adjustments manually as far as who you want to adjust and where. Now this game does get overglorified quite a bit. It gets overglorified a lot actually. There's a lot of shortcomings in this sucker. And back in its heyday in the online community, there was certainly a fair share of cheddar going around. Believe you me, there was a guy on the old forums called what was his name? His name was Black Vivaldi. We used to call him Black Velveeta. There were guys who would take Ronnie Lott and Joey Browner and put them at linebacker. Guys would put wide receivers at tight end and suffer no repercussions whatsoever. I mean, you know, it had your usual video game cheat tactics, just like any other video game has. People sometimes have a tendency to treat 2K Sports like they're the virgin mother. But anyhow, going back to this game here, this offense is so loaded with weapons in the passing game that I forget to run the ball with Marshall Falk at times. Gotta remind myself to hand the ball off, run the rock. I actually have to trim this playbook down. I have a lot of junk in here that I don't really need. I'm not going to run too many rollouts, play action or otherwise. There's a couple of broken plays here and there that I got to remove, as well as plays I just simply don't have much use for. I'm not going to run a bootleg or a QB lead draw. I'm not going to run too many end arounds, so I got to do some cutting. If it was still possible to play this game competitively, I don't know how active the Xbox world is. The PS3 servers are down, but if it was still possible to play this game on a competitive basis, in my prime I'd roll with a team that has, at worst, a silver quarterback. My favorite bronze quarterbacks are Mark Rippon and Jim Harbaugh. But my absolute favorite quarterbacks, to use were Joe Theismann, John Elway, Warren Moon. Those are my top guys. Forget about Joe Montana. Joe Montana you could do anything with. I mean, dude is just a beast. I liked Steve Young a lot as well. I also liked Len Dickey, although I'd go with more of a West Coast style passing game with Len Dickey because his arm is so weak. I'd have a kicker, and you'll see why in a moment. I get lazy with the stick and shank that sucker, not paying enough attention to the drifting arrow. But, yeah. I'd have a kicker, so I would have a charge throw quarterback, preferably no worse than a silver. A kicker. I would have 2 vertical threat wide receivers. And a back. If I was running West Coast, a dual-purpose back, like, say, Roger Craig, Thurman Thomas, Paul Hornung, even Marcus Allen. And I like my outside receivers to be tall and be able to get downfield. I'd occasionally roll West Coast, but my preference is to be more Mike Martz-ish, more Air Coryell style. So if I was going that route, I would have more of a power runner. Those, big play receivers. I would go, if I was going Air Coryell, I'd go power runner, charge throw quarterback, receiver, threat tight end, receiving threat tight end, kicker. Maybe an offensive lineman. Who knows, but I'll definitely have a kicker if I was playing online competitively still. Defensively, I would roll with a coverage bonus linebacker. I like to have a heavy hitter, strong safety like Joey Browner. 2 of them preferably, like Ronnie Lott and Joey Browner would be my dream deep safety pairing. So I'd have a coverage bonus linebacker, either Nick Bonaconte or one of my favorite players in the game, Brad Van Pelt. A monster pass rusher, either defensive end or defensive tackle, and at least, one really good tackling corner who's physical. Maybe 2, depending on if I was in the mood to have an offensive lineman on offense, which I do like to play with from time to time, or did like to play with from time to time, even though you don't really need them. One of the great annoyances of the game in the online world is that generic linemen can handle guys like Deacon Jones and Reggie White, Leroy Selman, Bob Lilly just fine. You don't really need legend linemen, which is a bit of a shame. That's not to say that legend linemen weren't useful. They actually were. There are some plays that are not runnable without them, which I've discovered over the years. But if the choice comes down between an offensive lineman or an extra guy who can cover the Jerry Rices of the world, what do you think most people are going to choose? They're going to choose a defensive back or another offensive weapon. But that was a major shortcoming in the game, in my opinion. The fact that star offensive linemen were neglected pretty much wholesale. You hardly ever saw people use them because it didn't need to. I mean, in a perfect world, if I have, say, Reggie White and Elvin Bethea on my defensive line, and you just have all generics out there, you need to be doing some pretty heavy game planning to prevent your quarterback from having to run for his life on a consistent basis. But, it was what it was, and there isn't a whole heck of a lot you can do about it now. But yeah, Madden 15, we're what, 10 days away? I like what they have cooking. Seen a lot of good stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot of tweaking and experimenting and depth chart breakdowns and schemes for that sucker. Looking forward to getting my hands on it. So, anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed these two games, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the comments that I made, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.
They're now up by 14. The Sailors, late in the fourth quarter. Manning went to the air, trying to convert on third down, and he found his man. Unfortunately, they could not capitalize on the play. And that's where we'll have to leave this one. The Bulls come away with the win, 20-6. And now for our 2K Sports Player of the Game.
Number 28 turned in yet another legendary outing. Well, they put the game on his legs, Dan, and he managed to find his way through holes big and small all game en route to a big rushing performance. And that performance led his team to victory.
For my partner, Peter O'Keefe, this is Dan Stevens saying